The articles I chose from the textbook concerns the decision-making function and fallacies our mind undergo. The article discusses the experiments used to develop the tenets of prospect theory. The article is titled Advances in Prospect Theory, a Cumulative Representation of Uncertainty by Tversky and Kahneman. The article seeks to understand the rationality or lack thereof that motivates people's decision-making. The human mind has a tendency to not think statistically, and as a result, many people exhibit decision-making errors that influence a person's reaction or decision in response to a situation. The decisions people make changes with how the situation is presented, so the authors explore the response of people in similar but differently presented situational risks to develop a theory explaining decision-making failings. Prospect theory states that people choose to take on risk when evaluating potential losses and avoid risk when evaluating potential gains. People tend to give losses more weights than gains, have strong preferences for certainty, and overweigh small probabilities while underweighing high probabilities. The authors observed a sample of 25 graduate students that were subjected to 3 experiments within a few days. The subjects were presented with 2 alternative choices at first that varied in value and probability. A typical positive trial consisted of the person choosing between an option such as 25% chance to win $150 versus a 75% chance to win $50. The student was then asked to decide between these options, and another presented 7 different assured outcomes that varied in value. This test evaluated the risk of uncertainty when weighing the probability of achieving gains. To evaluate the risk uncertainty of avoiding loss, the situations were altered so that the money was lost instead of gained. For example, a subject would decide between a 25% chance to lose $150 and a 70% chance to lose $50. The subject would compare these options to a varied amount of assured values to factor in the weight of assured losses. Lastly, a modified procedure was used in some of the problems so that the subjects made choices regarding the acceptability of a set of mixed prospects, such as a 50% chance to lose $100 and a 50% chance to win a value in X, in which X was increased depending on the answer given by the subject. All of the data is presented in the table on the slide. Table 4 shows that with a higher risk, all 25 subjects are predominantly risk-averse for positive prospects and risk-seeking for negative ones. The subject chose the lower risk option 78% of the time when the value is correlated to gaining money, and they chose the higher risk option 87% of the time when the value was a potential loss. The results were consistent with the proposed idea of loss aversion and the increased significance placed on assured values that make up the theory of prospect. Hundreds of other papers discussing the theory have been published, as well as a book on the prospect theory by the same authors as this article. This article, as well as multiple other experiments, exhibits that people tend to take more risk to avoid a loss than to achieve gains, and the increased value people place on assured values of either loss or gain. The iPhone application called Hooked allows people to view multiple deals and ads from surrounding restaurants. I took a picture of one of the many ads on the application. The ad is for a local restaurant called Potato Shack and contains a picture of a loaded baked potato on a plate with the Potato Shack logo on the right side. The offer or deal is located at the top of the thread, and in this one it says $2 off any potato. At the bottom of the ad, a label shows the distance to the restaurant and the time remaining of the deal. This ad demonstrates the topics of loss aversion and the prospects theory, in which people take a larger risk to avoid losses than a risk to obtain gains. The possible customer is weighing the decision to lose the restaurant's deal against the prospect to save money. The time limit of the deal increases the perceived value of the offer, so that the loss of such a limited time deal would seem to be a greater loss. Since the time limit is continually updated, the value of the potential loss increases as the time limit reaches its expiration. The ad could be changed so that there is no time limit on the ad. Since the offer does not expire, the potential loss of the deal is not as significant, and the effects of loss aversion are not as prominent. The number of people who use the offer should then decrease in this example. The ad could also be changed to remove the time limit and the offer entirely. The application instead shows the restaurant's ad and the location to the restaurant alongside other restaurants' advertisements. With solely the image of the loaded potato on the plate and the logo, the Potato Shack should not receive the same amount of customers if all other things are equal.